So those of you who remember Lucille Lampy, Grandma Cookie.
Yeah.
We got this at one of the youth auctions many, many years ago. Linnea Ennebo, who's quite an artist, made this. So I brought it in because I'm gonna see if the family, when I get with them soon about Lucille's service in a few weeks, they might want to have that. So anyway, I wanted some of you to see that. Let's see, some housekeeping things. We've got, stay tuned to your email tomorrow before you come to the concert. Justin got a cold, and so he's, it's looking good, but if he's feeling really bad, we may have to postpone that concert. Which of course would be a drag, but lots going on. So we had a great Lenten start last night and yesterday morning. So we've got that going, of course, Sunday going, and my class on Sunday morning is back up and running. Let's see, what else do we need to take? Melanie. I'm working with Ed Cameron right now, and it's likely we just haven't nailed down the service time, but we've got, what is it, March 2nd is March 2nd is actually Darlene Yoakum's memorial, and then Lucille's is the 2 weekends after that, like the 16th, would that be right, or 15th? I can't remember. And so we may be looking at the weekend in between. So we'd have 3 in a row. I'm a little nervous about putting, with our reception folks and everybody, but we will all rise to the needs and occasion. Yes, we did do Clara Barr's memorial last Monday. So it's likely that it'll be that weekend. There's a Pinewood Derby here though that Saturday, but we're thinking we can do both. They're over there, and I think it'll work. So you should hear soon about Melanie's. I'm thinking that I want to have it on a Saturday, knowing that the choir is open to singing at her service, since she was such a devout member of the choir. 15? Oh, I thought it might be the 16th. Yeah. I think it is the 16th. Yeah, I think it's on a Saturday. What's that? It may be the 9th. Yeah, it may be that weekend. That's Saturday. Yeah, okay, yeah. I should go in there and let them know. Is there someone, if I let you know that, can you? Okay, so you can get the word out that way. Okay. Jared. Harold Dahl has fluid in his heart, which caused fluid buildup in his legs. He's getting that, they're doing the diuretics or whatever to get that off. And I think they're possibly going to do a trial, like now, how they have like defibrillators and stuff that senses, but I guess there's something they're working with that when your fluid starts to build up on your heart, that it sends a signal or something. I don't know how that works, but I believe he's still in the hospital. Herb Warner has been in the hospital. I hope it's okay to tell you that. I got that secondhand. Just yesterday I learned that. So Herb Warner is, I guess, having some blood clot issues, but I heard he's able to go home maybe today. Just getting off of the COVID thing. I took a negative test yesterday morning and did all the research, and pretty much everybody says you're fine, don't about it. But Herb has been because he has some real issues with respiratory stuff that he's been real nervous about that. So I didn't go see him, but Jonathan went to see Harold and Herb yesterday in the hospital. So yes, thank you. That's some good other. He is, yeah, they're both here at St. Michael's. Yeah. Sorry, this is about what we're just talking about. Could you call and let him know that we did that Friday or Saturday? That Friday or Saturday, that's that. I hope everybody's good. We can manage both. Okay, so yeah, so we're into Lent and that's wonderful. And I can't believe it. Any other things for the good of the order? All right, well, it's always really great to see you guys, and sorry we lost a week there with the snow. We probably would have been fine, kind of loosened up pretty quickly, but but I always have to remember our CBEC people and that it's way snowier out there and icier out there. All right, so with that, let me share up the screen here and we will get started. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious God, we pray indeed that your Holy Spirit will be with us as we are in your word together. And we give thanks for the promise that you are with us, especially as we are in your word. And so give us your Holy Spirit. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. And maybe it's helpful to also just say that, Lee, it's great to have you here. She's meeting Don Budden, and plans for Ben's service are going to be later in the summer, it looks like. So, but just wanted to say it was really great to have you stop in this morning. And headed off back down to Arizona. I'm jealous. Yay, yes. Speaking of that, I should probably mention that I am actually taking a speed run to Arizona. I'm leaving later today. My brother's daughter, so this is a prayer concern. My brother's granddaughter, so my brother's daughter's daughter, she's about 12 years old, and she's had to be admitted to a hospital, and so for behavioral psychological things. So just for confidentiality, I won't say any more than that, obviously, but just please keep my brother's granddaughter in your prayers. So I'm going to go see him and support them. And then I also have a neat little opportunity. And when I was a senior in high school, we got to the state championship. We didn't win it, but we got in baseball. And no, it was when I was a junior, our junior year. And our beloved coach that everybody loves so much passed away. And so there's a group of guys from the team getting together and just kind of turned out I could do it. And fortunately, Sandy's sister has those buddy passes from being on the Alaska airline that flight it up. So I'm and there were some nice openings. So anyway, I'm getting on a plane later today and going to be back Saturday afternoon. So just a quick speed trip, but you can keep me in your thoughts there. Okay, so with that, we are prayed, we are ready to go. So we are basically just a little before chapter 5. And I think we're going to go back to verse 27 of chapter 4 in Exodus, just to kind of keep us in context, especially since it's been a few weeks since we met. And so remember where we're at. Moses has been commissioned to go tell the Pharaoh to let the people go. He's been given a promise that God's going to go with him, but he's done all kinds of resistance. I'm not a good enough speaker. Who's your name? You know, every kind of excuse to not go possible. So we all relate to him with that, of course. And then he even says, since I don't speak well, and God says, well, I'm going to give you Aaron. You know, he can speak well. And so he'll go with you. And so we had some tough texts a couple of weeks ago about God God hardening Pharaoh's heart, and also this whole thing that God was going to kill Moses,
Yeah.
and this whole atonement thing, and that was a really difficult. It's one of the hardest texts in the Pentateuch, and we did a good job working with that. And that I hadn't uploaded that recording, but it is now uploaded to the YouTube channel. So anyway, that's where we're at. And we're going to start up then with what happens after that. So the Lord, Yahweh, said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. So he went and met him at the mountain of God and kissed him. It's the usual greeting. And Moses told Aaron all the words of the Lord with which he had sent him to speak, and all the signs that he had commanded him to do. Remember that the signs went along with the command or the word. Then Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the people of Israel. And Aaron spoke all the words that the Lord had spoken to Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. And the people believed. And when they heard that the Lord had visited the people of Israel, and that he had seen their affliction, they bowed their heads and worshiped. I think that's a really poignant verse there, the last part of that. And the people believed. So Aaron spoke all the words the Lord had spoken to Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. So they went first to the people. These are the enslaved Israelites, and hey, you're going to be set free. And there were signs that accompanied that, and there will be signs that accompany it. And they believed when they heard the Lord had visited the people of Israel, and that he had seen their affliction. So what created faith? It's kind of interesting to pause and just make a couple notes on this. What created faith in them after how many years have they been? 400? That God had noticed. And we've talked so far a fair amount about how faith is clinging to God's promise, even when our circumstances don't seem to match up with that promise. And so finally, the people hear that the Lord has heard, and he's visited the people of Israel, and that he'd seen their affliction. So heard, seen, visited. So look at those verbs. Those are God is doing that. And with that, they bowed their heads and worshiped. So that's a powerful thing. Comments, questions on that little? Yeah, please. Yeah.
Who did the signs in front of the people? Was it Moses?
Was it Moses or Aaron? Right. Yeah, good question.
It's in the sentence.
It doesn't quite make that clear, does it? Yeah.
The good news says that Moses performed all the miracles.
The Good News Bible says Moses. Okay. Did I miss one?
I think it was usually Moses that did the signs, and Aaron.
Aaron did the speaking. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great example, by the way. And I love some of these paraphrase Bibles, like the Good News Bible and the Message. But just remember, if it's a little ambiguous in the actual text, a lot of those translations will make a decision for you, Paul.
Yeah, and that's the part of the problem. We don't have Hebrew in front of us.
Right.
We have English, and in English, the antecedent is Moses,
Yes.
but I don't know what it is in Hebrew.
And I'm thinking, what are some of your, I'm reading from the ESV, that leaves it a little ambiguous. What do yours have to say? Yeah.
The people.
So Aaron did both.
Yeah.
So the NIV makes that. So I don't know, my Hebrew isn't good enough to where I could just go in and find that out, but evidently it's ambiguous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I typically use the Logos Librinex,
Right.
and so they're a little bit more different than some of the others. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Statutes
as the priest.
Eaten well. Sure. Yeah, so we get a distinguishing of the two. Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see as we go along, you know. No, he wasn't, but so I guess Dorothy, you're Sharon, I guess that you know, maybe this is a precursor, you know. You take care of Lee, yeah. All right, so we don't know, maybe it's not important. Right, yeah,
17,
yeah,
it's God tells Moses to take this staff in your hand so you can perform miraculous signs with it. You know, that was God's intention.
right, that Moses is gonna do the signs, yeah, yeah. And these are all things that you guys are such good Bible scholars, these are all things that the translators have to think about, you know, on occasion. Now, the great thing is if anybody ever comes to you and say, oh, we don't have it in the original languages, how can we know what it really means? We don't, well, most of these decisions don't make a difference to the ultimate meaning, but in truth, you have more at your disposal than Christians have ever had. You have, multiple literal English translations, ESV, the NIV is kind of in the middle, but the RSV and, you know, all these different English translations. And then you have these kind of paraphrase translations that don't, like Eugene Peterson makes the point that he's trying to translate the meaning and not word for word. Because doing it word for word sometimes doesn't get the meaning across. So, but you have both. And so you don't really need to know Hebrew. Or, you know, it's helpful, obviously, to be a pastor, I have to learn Hebrew, and there was a time when I could read Hebrew and not have to, you know, I could actually just read it. But, you know, you don't use it as much and you lose it. But anyway, so knowing the languages is great. And by the way, you can get Logos Bible software, and, you know, if you learn how to use it, you can look stuff up in the Greek without knowing Greek. So, but anyway, but I just want to make the point, you're okay, because you have great things to compare. And sometimes people buy these Bibles that have the NRSV and the NIV and the, you know, a couple of them all in one column. And if I was to buy one, I would want to have the NIV, the ESV, maybe the NRSV, and then the Message. Because that way you could look at the Message and then look at the literal, and you could compare it. So if I was going to buy one of those comparative ones, that's what I'd search for. I don't know if they make one. In my Logos stuff, I have something called text comparison, where I can put whatever translations I want next to each other. So, but that helps you see, because you can go, oh, this one is a little different. There must be a little bit of a decision to make in the original language. But like I say, and then finally, not to go off on this tangent, thank you for getting me. Finally, our translations, with the exception of like the Message, which is Eugene Peterson's own translation, these are all committees of scholars. They, you know, and they do have biases, you know. The NIV is probably a little bit more evangelical world of Christianity. The ESV is loved by Missouri Synod Luther. That's what they read on Sunday mornings. The NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version, is probably read mostly in the ELCA and a lot of other Reformed mainline denominations. So they all have a little bit of a bias, but nothing that's going to radically affect much. But it's done by committee, so they get together. Can you imagine doing this? Martin Luther, when he did it, you want to know his committee? It's Philip Melanchthon and some other folks in Wittenberg. He would write back and say, I need this book because I can't figure this out. And he would correspond. So it was mainly his translation, but he would correspond. He had people that he would dialogue with. All right, that's enough of that. My goodness, let's go. All right.
Pastor Bill.
Kim, yes, please.
Oh, I just wanted to say regarding Aaron doing signs, is in chapter 7, it's his staff, he's the one that throws the staff down and it turns into a serpent.
Oh, wow, okay. So there you go. So Aaron
7:10, yeah, just a little
will-
FYI.
Cool, thank you. Gloria.
So I was just gonna assume that these committees that did the translations probably knew Greek.
Oh,
They're-
they're all
Yeah.
scholars, like
Yeah.
they, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Pastor Bill, so they are, Moses and Aaron now are in Egypt. Moses
Correct.
had not been in Egypt, but now they are in Egypt.
They are in Egypt before the Pharaoh. Let's go on right now. And there you go. We got the King James, which shaped all of English literature. And you got Shakespeare and, it's a gorgeous translation. It's beautiful. And now they've got the new King James, which is updated some of the out of date, like a word 500 years ago in English doesn't mean the same thing in English that it does today. So but they've tried to address that problem. I think it's a very helpful translation to have before you. It is only, however, using much older Greek manuscripts. When the King James was translated, they used about 4 or 5 different manuscripts of the New Testament that were only, they only went back to like 1000 AD. Now we have full Bible that's 325.
Is this the
80.
Dead Sea Scrolls?
The Dead Sea Scrolls had no New Testament stuff, but we have discovered papyrus. We don't have a full Bible in papyrus, but close to it. Our full New Testament that's dating to early 200s. And then the Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, these two complete Greek and Old and New Testament books. We have the full Bible, and pretty much, and those date to early 300s. So since the King James was created, now we have all these older manuscripts that they're using. And it gets into all kinds of weeds about there's different manuscript traditions and this type of thing. Yes, Joy.
Called King James.
Because King James is the one that said, I want endorse this translation. Yeah. England. Yeah, and who did, and wasn't Tyndale? Anyway, there were some, I'm trying to think of the important people, but we have the notes that they made some of in making decisions and looking at it, and yeah. It's a fascinating thing to me anyway. But the bottom line is you can have real confidence that your English translation is not, you can't have 100% certainty that it's exactly on every, but it reflects, I would say you could have 98% of what the original is. You can have total certainty, but there's other things where there's some confusion on things, but they're very minor. There are not very many of them, and they're very, they don't make a change in our doctrines or beliefs or anything like that. All right.
Now let's move.
So let's do bricks with a straw. Afterwards, Moses and Aaron went and said to Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." Now, this is interesting. This is what, in this reading of Exodus, I hadn't really thought of this before. This is not, let my people go forever so that they can go home. This is so they can have a feast in the wilderness. Interesting. But Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord. And moreover, I will not let Israel go." Then they said, yeah, why not? That's right. Allie. The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. Okay, again, is this exactly what God told him to do? Not exactly, is it? Okay, that's kind of interesting. But the king of Egypt said to them, Moses and Aaron, why do you take the people away from their work? Get back to your burdens. And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now many, and you make them rest from their burdens. So the Pharaoh hears this correctly. We want to have a little vacation out in the wilderness and have a feast. And the Pharaoh says, you're just trying to give them a break. No way. And in fact, what will the Pharaoh do? The same day the Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their foremen, you shall no longer give the people straw to make bricks, as in the past. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But the number of bricks that they made in the past, you shall impose on them. You shall by no means reduce it, for they are idle. Okay, so now, Moses says kind of what God told him to
We're
tell
only
them.
asking for a Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And the Pharaoh says no, and in fact, now they're gonna have to work a lot harder because they're idle. So now you get the justification from Pharaoh. They're lazy. They could work harder.
When I hear things like that, I think, well, here he is calling the kettle black.
Yes,
Talk about non-productive activity.
yeah. What does the Pharaoh do every day? He'll sit around and be waiting on. Good point. We're gonna come back to all of this. We're gonna keep going and then we'll go deeper into all these things, so. Therefore they cry, let us go and offer sacrifice to our God. Let heavier work be laid on the men, that they may labor at it and pay no regard to lying words. So the issue here, though, is making sacrifice to God or worshiping God. And remember, why does God say he wants to get the people out of Egypt? So they can worship. Do you think they got the seventh day as a Sabbath day in Egypt? Correct, Allie, 100%. I don't think so. All right, well, what are they gonna do? So the taskmasters and the foremen of the people went out and said to the people, thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go and get your straw yourselves wherever you can find it, but your work will not be reduced in the least. So the people were scattered throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. The taskmasters were urgent, saying, complete your work, your daily task each day, and when there was straw. And the foremen of the people of Israel, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, why have you not done all your task of making bricks today and yesterday as in the past? So when they couldn't keep the quota up because they didn't have straw, the taskmasters, or the foremen, I should say, are beaten. This
You know
is,
what they did with all these bricks?
well, did they build the pyramids?
Yeah, they must have had big bricks.
So people with the earth scanners here rediscovered the exact foundation for many, many buildings from Americans. It's a military lab.
Yeah. Yeah. Are the pyramid, and I'm assuming the pyramids are built with stone. But yeah, I mean, this would have been the way they built all their structures and their cities. Yeah. Yeah, right. So and behold, your servants are beaten, but the fault is in your own people. I remember when I was in college, I was a sociology minor. And of course, I read all kinds of books, liberal, conservative, you know. We read Milton Friedman, and we read other people that didn't like Milton Friedman, who was the free market economist guy. I didn't like him much back then. I like him a lot more now, interestingly enough, but um, so, but I remember reading a book called Blaming the Victim. And it was really intriguing. You know, and this, if there's ever an example of blaming the victim, here it is. You know, you're idle. That's why you say, let us go sacrifice the Lord. Go now and work, no straw will be given to you, but you must still deliver the same number of bricks. All this. They met Moses and Aaron, who were waiting for them, and as they came out from Pharaoh, and they said to them, the Lord look upon you and judge, because you have made us stink in the sight of the Pharaoh and his servants, and have put a sword in their hand to kill us. So now, not only did Moses and Aaron, you know, the Pharaoh's calling their bluff and say, oh, well, you asked that? Well, guess what? It's going to be 100 times worse now. And then what are the people doing for us? They blame Moses and Aaron. Look what a mess you've made. You know, not to get too close to home, but I remember, and you know how much I love my mom. And, but I remember her talking about Martin Luther King Jr. And a little bit sounded like this, like he's creating the problem. You know, everywhere he goes, there's violence. It's his fault, you know. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't some things that were done that were problematic, but nonetheless, it's interesting how this dynamic plays out, and it's hard not to hear some of that in this. Let's finish the chapter, and then we'll come back and talk more. Then Moses turned to the Lord and said, "Oh Lord, why have you done evil to this people?" So now Pharaoh rips into the people rip into Moses, and what does Moses do? He rips into God. Oh Lord, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you ever send me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people, and you have not delivered your people at all.
You're no help.
You're no help, God.
You know, at the.
Yeah, what do you think of all this? Yes, please, Gloria.
Last weekend. Can't agree with God, or can talk bad to God, or that's kind of what wasn't doing here. He's kind of a straight shooter there.
Yes. I'm gonna look at something here. He is being honest with God. Go ahead.
It's interesting that God already told him it's gonna happen. He said, I'm gonna harden his heart. And this is a process. After the last time we were together, I went and looked up the word, and it can mean harden, but it also means to strengthen. It means in the direction that they're already going, it increases their resolve or inclination. So Pharaoh was already resolved to be a harsh person.
Right.
And the hardening process, he's just becoming more of what he already was.
More of what he already was. That's helpful. That's really helpful.
Moses probably thought that, it was David's job to go in and talk to Pharaoh. But it was God's stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna be this easy. Please.
They had to set up for the Passover.
They had to set up for the Passover, you know. This is, like you said a couple of weeks ago, Ross, if that the Pharaoh wouldn't have been hardened and just said, sure, go ahead. We wouldn't have the liberation and the story and any of it, right? Yeah, yeah.
But I think
It does. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
The other side, you can see Pharaoh, like, I mean, he's gonna lose his first horse, and then.
He's certainly self-protecting, isn't he? Yeah. And then rationalizing to himself, they're lazy,
Yeah.
you know, they don't deserve this, you know, so, yeah. Yeah, helpful, please, keep going, Sharon.
This comes in, this is false. This has to be a mean of story because it's not that.
Right,
Because I've seen enough of that in our lifetimes with the dictators that have come on, they're not gonna give up their power.
yeah. I think we can see that in general, that power and human beings create problems. The genius, of course, of our system of government is we've set up a balance of power, so tried to, you know, I hope it
The great
continues.
thing about scripture is it is totally reality.
It is total reality, absolutely. One of my commentaries, Terence Fredheim, the Augsburg Fortress, Dr. Fredheim, as I've mentioned before, was a pretty, you know, huge figure at Luther Seminary, Old Testament scholar. And he has the interpretation, is what it looks like as a picture. It's Erdman's historical critical commentary. And he quotes Martin Luther King Jr. here, because Martin Luther King Jr., quote, refers to this chapter. And this is from Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? And this was in it was published in 67. I don't know when when Dr. King said this, but let's just read this. The Pharaohs had a favorite and effective strategy to keep their slaves in bondage, keep them fighting among themselves. The divide and conquer technique has been a potent weapon in the arsenal of oppression. But when slaves unite, the Red Seas of history open and the Egypts of slavery crumble. You can just hear Dr. King saying that. It's just such a great orator and use of language. So you can imagine that people who have been under oppressive systems like slavery or Jim Crow or segregation see in this chapter and in this book, like, wow, this is a God who delivers slaves from slavery. That sounds really good. And you learn a lot. And so when Dr. King, and I've read a ton, I haven't read so much now, but there was a time in my life where I read just about everything, every biography that I could read on Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement. And Garrow's book, by the way, I think still is the best on the civil rights. It's real thick, but it's fantastic. But nonetheless, you see, and this is, I'm going to take us somewhere, okay? You see, even in the civil rights movement, you got all kinds of people arguing with each other and fighting for what? Power. Now, their cause was as noble as a cause you can get, in my view. But there were arguments, and if you read these biographies, and it doesn't diminish the movement at all to me. They're human beings, just like everybody, you know, and so my question to you is, what is the best way to look at this chapter and this whole book? And I've already brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again. Is this book about God getting rid of an oppressive system of slavery? Or is it about something deeper than that? This is a question. because you can see that the delivered Hebrews, are they gonna go off into nirvana now? That they're set free from this oppressive system? I don't think so. That's right. So I think there's a greater problem than slavery, although slavery is disgusting. And any semblance of it to me is disgusting. Even the thought, of course, in our country, it was towards people from Africa and the slaves that were stolen from their country and imported to this country for labor to build the bricks, you know, to pick the cotton and all of that. And so slavery got connected to skin color. But slavery throughout the world, there's as many Caucasian people, so to speak, or people with light colored skin that have been enslaved, but in our constellation of this horrible evil, that's the way it's been. And so for me, I've always, I have to say, you can teach a human being to believe anything. Can't you? You can teach a human being that this person whose skin color is different than you means dot, 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 or that they're not really a full human being, like is part of our history. To me, I look at that and I just scratch my head. It makes me sick to my stomach, truthfully, but I scratch my head because I can't imagine that. I'm not saying I can't imagine that. I have prejudice and I make assumptions about people because, oh, you know, I'm a sinner, so I do that. But the thought that we would treat people poorly because of their skin color is just, but you can, yeah, it boggles the mind, Ally, but you can teach human beings that that's okay. See, you know, because human beings want to justify ourselves. So that's where I think we want to get to the root cause. Slavery is a symptom of human sin. Exploitation is a symptom of human sin. But now I'm gonna really get it. I'm gonna really get it going. Oh, sure, Dorothy.
Remember correctly, but if you were in debt, you could make yourself a slave to the
Correct.
person that was, you were in debt to, but it was a limited amount of time, it was 7 years, remember?
Yes, right. And then, yes. And so slavery, the history of slavery, we need to distinguish, not all slavery is the same. That's correct. So in Jesus's day, a lot of times people who were slaves were so hopelessly in debt that that was their only recourse. But there were slaves that were captured from other countries and brought, so it's certainly complex, but that's very true. That's very true. There were lots of different usages and different expressions of this. Audrey, yeah.
How did people end up in Egypt?
It was Joseph and the 12 brothers, when they came 400 years before, they brought their family to survive the famine. And these Hebrews are all of their descendants. And remember how God says you're gonna multiply?
Yeah.
Well, they did. They did. So, and we made that point that, that we say, well, where was God during these 400 years? Well, he was multiplying the people. They were very fruitful. They were very, yeah. So, yeah, please, Joyce.
I'm thinking, in chapter, the tug and pull between all the.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of what.
I think that's a helpful point, because that is what the featured thing. Is Moses gonna be true to what God told him to do, and how is he gonna stand in the face of challenges? Is he gonna trust God? Is he not gonna trust God?
And I
Okay,
think to do,
absolutely. He is not,
and he's. Man, you need to get.
yes. Man, I need to get out of here. I love it. What grade would you give Moses so far? A 0? See, you're much harder grader than me, Joyce. I'm just gonna give him a C plus. Joyce, yeah, give him a C plus, Ally. Sorry, Andre. He did go, right, there you go. That's good, Paul.
Otherwise, if Moses had said, I mean, he wouldn't have said I was gonna go just 3 days
Mhm.
into the wilderness. He hedged there.
Yeah, he kind of softened it a little bit. Just let us go for a while.
Yeah.
Anybody at home want to throw in? Up to the mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 and that's where God. Yeah, he will, not yet, but he's gonna get the commandments, yeah. Yeah, in a few more chapters, yeah, absolutely. We got the plagues and all that good stuff first. Okay, I don't hear anything from folks at home, so we will keep going to my next thought, yeah. Gonna really. So when I read Terence Fretheim's commentary on this, well, he's a great scholar, but he zeroes in on this chapter, and he doesn't take it the way Joyce did, which I agree with Joyce. He thinks this chapter is about the oppressive system. And it kind of sounds like Karl Marx. Remember, and now Karl Marx, he's got a bad name and all this stuff needs to focus, but he's just a little bit after Luther, and he read Luther. And Luther had a lot to say about the poor and to the nobility. You people got to look out for these people. You can't exploit them. You can't do that. Now, Luther never went beyond advocating something that Karl Marx did and saying that, but what Karl Marx, if I got it right, said is that the problem is the system. And that system is what? A capitalist. Well, or a dictatorship. Yeah, in this case, a dictator who has all power and is exploiting the workers. Yeah, and is cruel. And Luther would say, it's not the system, it's the guy. Or it's the power underneath it. But we want to say, Karl Marx had concern for these people who were suffering. But he goes on then to say the problem is the system. Well, what I want to say, again, making my point, which maybe let's move on, Pastor Bill. My point is the system is not the problem. A system can only have good things and bad things. And you want to pick a system that has the least bad things, the least bad consequences. For me, I like a free enterprise system. I like a system of government with checks and balances. I think we have to keep fighting for that. I think we have to be careful about monopolies like we have in healthcare now and in lots of things, because whether it's a person or a corporation that gets all power, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing humans have been doing for 5,000 years or more. So you got to have balance of power. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And I think come up with a system where you're going to have the least downsides. And what I've seen historically, and I know a lot of people, although and some of my biggest critics on this are young people from this congregation who've gone to liberal arts schools, who come back and say, no, we can make socialism work in this United States. We can. You wouldn't believe my conversations with these great, smart, beautiful young people of our congregation. I'm not going to say, but they, and I say, well, when has it ever really worked? Venezuela, I mean, we got the communist bloc countries, now you could say, well, they never really did practice socialism in the way, and so I understand that, and I don't want to get us off on economic theory and all of this, but it is germane, my point, I think, is germane, because again, what is the problem? Is it the human heart? Or is it a system? It's both. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, and I would say it's the human heart system corrupting a system. For instance, and this is something Dr. King said that that really is challenging. He spoke directly to the corporations. And he said, if you guys keep oppressing people, you're gonna get communism. Because you're creating this hurt, and what appeals to people in that is a communist system, power to the people, and all this. So if you keep doing this, this is what you're gonna get. This is exactly what he said, and this is exactly what's happened. So if the boards, the CEOs and the board of directors of all these corporations, if they don't have a changed heart, like, this is gonna make us a lot of money, but you know what? It's gonna totally destroy this river. I don't think we're gonna do it. If you don't have moral people in those boardrooms, you're gonna have exploitation and horrible stuff, and then you're gonna get socialism. And to me, that's what's happened in healthcare. If all the powerful folks in healthcare had gotten together and said, we're gonna make a way to have affordable healthcare for people who are subsistence level, so that everybody has, if they'd have got it, we wouldn't have needed to have the government fund. But we had to, because they weren't doing it. And so we got this mishmash of whatever we have now, but so that's, I think, again, it's important to get at the root of the problem, because then finally, and we're gonna get to you, Jerry, that says, what are we as a church here for? Are we here to change hearts? Or are we here to change the system?
Well,
Or it could be both, but how we change that system is an issue. And I can tell you that whether it's Missouri Synod, ELCA, a lot of the big denominations are trying to change the system. That's the problem. And so we got to advocate for this, advocate for that. Well, maybe there's the place for that, but I just wrestle with, is that our job? I think our job is to change people who then change systems. But maybe that's maybe I'm doing an end run around the problem. Jerry, and then Joyce,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna make a comment. Socialist medicine in Canada is not working. And a lot of people are coming to the United States prepared.
Yes.
They can't get it in Canada.
Right. So there's an example where every system has pluses and minuses. And you have to decide. There's trade-offs to everything. I loved, and I'm sorry, I know this is a conservative author, but Thomas Sowell, makes this point that in this broken world, at best, you just get trade-offs. And you make one thing better, you make something else worse, and you have to live with that. There is no nirvanic system that's gonna fix, everything. Joyce, yeah.
I was just going to go, I know you're saying,
Good.
that's why the Senate called in the CEO of Microsoft, Meta, TikTok, and held their feet to the fire because they're exploiting all these young children.
Right, and especially with the phones and the media and the Facebook,
And
yeah.
hopefully that would change their heart.
Right, and so there again, and that's what we need. We need to have balance of powers. We need to have a government that can hold corporations, and then we need to have corporations, the whole government's feet, and we got this whole thing, yeah, helpful. Now, again, I know you didn't come here to talk about this today, but isn't it germane? Here we've got a system, we got the Pharoh and Moses confronted him, so we'll get back to the text now, yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah,
And we have seen. To get rid of all this, and this is how we can do it, not very idealistic. We watched that happen.
yes, right,
So you talk going to China.
Yeah. Right,
And see what was 1900 history.
Yeah.
You can't even get, the bookseller told me he can't even get people to buy the print biographies from the 1900s to the 1950s.
Well, and- yeah, and I take the point is well taken that we need to be really
They don't.
good historians on both sides.
Exactly.
I'm okay with a newer history take, but we don't need to hold them up together because this is something else that the Crossways Bible study taught me, that as you look at the Old Testament, the history is told from a perspective. And it's told from the Southern Kingdom's perspective. It's not told from the Northern Kingdom's perspective, so you just have to know who's telling the story, and maybe they're leaving parts of the story out that we need to be aware of. I think we're rightly looking back at, wow, some of these history books don't talk about slavery as much as they should have, or they should have that. But at the same time, we don't want to throw everything out and forget some of these lessons. Yeah, well, that's right. And again, so my point here is what is the root of this story, and what is this about? And it certainly involves a system. I love that Dr. King, and I love that the slaves, you guys take care. Good luck over there today. I love that the slaves in the South read the Old Testament, and they heard the stories of Moses, and they were like, that drove the abolition movement. It drove this, Harriet Tubman and all these amazing heroes of our, so many people blame Christianity for this. Well, or blame the Bible that it endorses slavery, all this. That is such a superficial read. It actually is the source of liberation. But also it shows that the Pharaoh is not ultimately in charge. And it showed slaves in this country that their master wasn't ultimately in charge, who most of the time was horrible and harsh and cruel. So that's powerful. All right. Please don't anyone hear me belittling any of the injustice that's gone on, that will go on, that we just got to accept it. No, but let's remember what the root problem is. That's human sin. Okay, that's all I think I'm really trying to say. All right. Whew, I don't know if I intended to go there, but because, by the way, let's not forget that prejudice that in this country is a legacy of slavery continues on every day. It's not over. We need to keep fighting that fight, because that's what we're called to do. But how we do it is the question. Okay, Moses turned and said, "Oh God, what are you doing?" So let's keep going. Chapter 6. But the Lord said to Moses, "Now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand he will send them out, and with a strong hand he will drive them out of his land." So you think I've caused problems? Actually, you're going to see the Pharaoh drive you all out of the land. I love the positions here. God spoke to Moses and said to him, "I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob as God Almighty. But by my name, the Lord, I did not make myself known to them." So he made himself known, but who did he give the name Yahweh to? To Moses. That's interesting. "I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land in which they live as sojourners." So what is God's response so far to Moses' complaint? What does he do first?
He identifies himself.
He gives him his name. He identifies who he is. Is that what you said, Audrey?
Yeah.
Do you remember who I am?
Do you remember who I am? Yes.
And tells them what he's done.
That's right. Look what I've done in the past. So he calls them to remember the story. He takes them back to what he's done for them. That, I think, is really what we do on Sunday mornings. You come back together after getting knocked down and beat up out there in the world, and we say, remember who God is. Remember Abraham and Sarah, and remember the covenants, and remember what God did in Egypt and parting the Red Sea, and remember what happened to Jesus after the third day. And remember, because we come and we say, God, what are you doing? Where are you? There's still all this tragedy and all this horrible stuff. And God says just what he said to Moses. This is who I am. Remember that. And I also established my covenant. And I think this is Barith. Yeah. My contract, my agreement with them. I think contract isn't a good, I think covenant's the right word. To give them the land of Canaan, the land in which they lived as sojourners. So they lived there for a while, but he's going to give it to them. Moreover, I have heard the groaning of the people of Israel, whom the Egyptians hold as slaves, and I have remembered my covenant. So now God says, I haven't forgotten. Because what do we think? God, have you forgotten? Have you forgotten us? Yeah.
400 years.
For 400 years. And you can, from a human standpoint, I would be like one of those folks, I'm not sure God remembers us. But a word comes in from the outside, doesn't it? And says, I've claimed you. By the way, this is the same thing that Isaiah will do to the people when they're in exile. Many, way down the story, they're taken off into exile in Babylon. Kim has written a beautiful little take on Isaiah 43 that she often reads to people before surgery, and that, it's touched me, and that, because it's a passage that I often read to people. Isaiah 43, you remember Isaiah 43? But now thus says the Lord, the one who created you, O Jacob, the one who formed you, O Israel. That's northern, southern kingdom, that's everybody together. Now the northern's long gone, the southern's, but so this is kind of a term of affection, endearment. So what does God say to the people when they're in exile? I created you. Do not fear, I've also redeemed you. I've called you by name, you are mine. When you pass through the waters, because they're worried about they're going to go home and it's going to be a hard journey. And so God, this is what God always is doing for us. A word comes from the outside that says, here's my promise, you hang on to that. Don't let go. For with a strong hand, he will send them out, and with a strong hand. So we go on. Let's see. I remember my covenant. Say therefore to the people Israel, I am the Lord. Again, you get the I am here. I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. God is going to deliver them. And so let me just make this point too, since especially with what I've already said and maybe gone over the ledge a little bit on that. God, I'm not talking about a spiritualized good news here. Like that has nothing to do with everyday realities. I'm just talking about the core issue. But absolutely, he's going to bring them out. That's the promise. This will have hands and feet and tangible evidence, and their suffering will be delivered. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great acts of judgment. I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who has brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you into the land that I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will give it for your possession. I am the Lord. Moses spoke thus to the people, but they, oh, shoot. They did before, but now they don't listen because of their broken spirit and harsh slavery. Wow, that I can relate to. That hits me like a, sorry for the pun, a ton of bricks. Because oftentimes, because of other people's hurt, because of so many losses and defeats and so much injustice, I struggle to believe. But because of a broken spirit and harsh, and and I've never experienced anything like so many have in the history of humanity who have gone through this kind of oppression and hurt. So that's a little dose of reality, isn't it? Please, Gloria.
Well, I was just looking at 7 through 8. You see, I will an awful lot in there. And it's kind of Exodus in a nutshell, because that's what through the whole book of Exodus, God is doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Please.
Building on to that too, so something dire begins to happen in our own lives, for example. Something comes in better than expected. And it doesn't mean that your prayers for God's help are going to bring instant help, because you're going to have to go through this one. And, he's going to be with you as you go through the swamp.
Yeah.
And you just have to have understanding and faith that the swamp isn't, you're not out of that yet.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. I will be with you, just like that Isaiah passage, I will, you're gonna go through the desert, but you won't be burned. You're gonna not be overwhelmed. And that's a word that we cling to and a promise that we hold on to.
It's night surgery.
Right. Yeah.
And it just said,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
and experiences. Really faith building.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think, the Israelites have been so disappointed all along with what Moses said. And then the Pharaoh came down harder on them. And so why would they believe him again?
Right. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't look at the people with any judgment at all. I'd have been right there.
I would have been.
And what's interesting, the text here, the narration doesn't judge them either.
Yeah.
It actually Moses spoke to the people, but they didn't listen this time because of their broken spirit and harsh slavery.
Discouragement.
Yeah.
And cruel bondage.
Yeah. So it's like, now, because they didn't believe that, did God abandon them? No. He stuck with them. Absolutely. Now, once Moses starts talking to the Pharaoh, this doesn't seem to me to be that long of a period. But there was enough time where they were supposed to make these bricks and they got in trouble for not making them. And they were at the breaking point already. Yeah. And then to get more.
Certainly, years of all these centuries, and Christian view, absolutely. We go back to that, which is still only an opening up.
Yeah, the genealogies are important. I think what I find really telling, especially when you think about the New Testament saying that God can raise up from these stones, children of Abraham. I think the significance of I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is I'm a God involved in history. I have chosen a people, I'm not some ethereal, just purely spiritual entity. I'm involved in the human story. I'm involved and in these people's story. And they're part of God's story, and God is gonna be faithful to that, yeah. Let's finish just this little section here, and then this will be a good stopping point. So the Lord said to Moses, go in, tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to let the people of Israel go out of this land. Not for a temporary festival, but Moses said to the Lord, behold, the people of Israel have not listened to me. How then shall Pharaoh listen to me? For I am of uncircumcised lips.
Oh,
This one says faltering lips. That
I'm-
sounds a little better.
culture.
In admitting for uncircumcised in heart and flesh to be my sanctuary. Yeah. What does your translation say? Faltering. Faltering lips, uncircumcised lips. Yeah, so it's unholy lips or not feeble, frail. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and gave them a charge about the people of Israel and about Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to bring the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So again, it's quite amazing. I just am thankful for this today because, man, do I ever feel inadequate most days. I don't know if you know that, but at the task at hand, to be a pastor in this time, to be a father in this time, to be a husband, to be a person, a citizen of this country, I feel very inadequate often. But that's right where God loves to work with us. I think God does a lot with our sense of inadequacy. Well, good. That's right where God can work with you, Joyce. Yeah, absolutely. Because look, God didn't say, yeah, you're right. I'm going to try something different. But the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and gave them a charge about the people. No, you do what I told you to do. I know your feeble, frail attempts. I know you're not worthy or adequate to the task, but go do it. Still go do it. Hang in there. Don't give up.
To say this.
Yeah. Yeah.
God say, just wait till we get to chapter 12 and then you'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, this is an interesting, I hope this was a helpful study today. And if it was struggle or troubling, you're in my thoughts and prayers. Let's keep the conversation going. Don't give up. That's the bottom line. Don't give up. God is faithful. He's going to get the job done. And that's the good news. Okay, we get a genealogy next week, and then we get on with the story. Moses and Aaron before Pharaoh. So we go back to Pharaoh and off we go. Okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Go in peace, serve the Lord. I will. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Hey, Pastor Bill, on the owl, the men's first voices were coming through really clear, but the women's were not at all. They were very pixelated. So I don't know if there's a setting or something. Like Joyce's was clear, but everybody else was really pixelated.
So like Sharon.
Yeah.
Did you hear Paul?
His would come in and out, but it was stronger.
Wonder what's going on. We got everything plugged in, right? Maybe I didn't get the microphone. Thank you. We'll have to think about that.
Okay. Bye.